As you may have noticed, The Godfather is frequently recognized as one of the most popular and critically acclaimed films of all time. In fact, IMDb.com ranks The Godfather as the number one movie of all time. Interestingly, they rank The Shawshank Redemption as the number two movie of all time. For the record, critics never would have ranked The Shawshank Redemption this highly, though they frequently rank The Godfather near the top. This suggests that The Godfather is a favorite amongst fans and critics alike, a distinction that rarely occurs. So why is The Godfather so popular? Why, out of all the movies people love, is The Godfather, a story of a violent criminal family, one of our perennial favorites? Number one, it is a story of violent criminals. Our curiosity makes such portrayals irresistible. In fact, most of our favorite films involve murder, deceit, scandal, and all manner of sin and crime. It provides a sympathetic portrayal of powerful criminal figures. Even as Michael is having Carlo, his godson's father, murdered for betraying Sonny, we're sympathizing with Michael. Likely, a thought like this ran through your head. I can see why he would do that. Not that you would do it, but you have a strange admiration for a character who would actually follow his convictions to such a brutal conclusion. Two, it's both simple and complex. Though there are many characters and intersecting subplots, the basic story of The Godfather is Michael's development and the long road of revenge along which he travels with his family. 3, it's beautiful and poetic. The scenes are sumptuous, the cinematography is classical, the writing is superb. 4, it's well cast. Al Pacino as Michael and Marlon Brando as Don Vito are perfect. Absurdly, the studio at one time pressured Francis Ford Coppola to cast the strawberry blonde Robert Redford as Michael. Luckily, Coppola persisted in his choice of the dark-eyed newcomer Pacino. Of course, the most common complaint about The Godfather is that it's too long. Granted, it is long, but I think what people usually mean is that it moved too slowly. Either way, I'm always a little disappointed by this criticism because it seems maybe too easy or a little cliche. In fact, the movie needs all of its scenes to appropriately develop its characters, in particular Michael. The fact that some of the scenes develop slowly is actually important to the way in which the Corleones conduct business. Both Don Vito and Michael are very deliberate men. They take their time mulling over a decision, and they control situations in part by remaining calm and taking their time, a tactic which often disarms more hot-blooded opponents. If you watch the movie again, notice how much more quickly scenes develop during the period when Sonny is in charge of the family. His hastiness is mirrored by the film, a fact which makes many of Sonny's scenes memorable for their quickness and violence. Without a doubt, The Godfather's central focus has to be on character. The development of Michael from a college-educated war hero to the patriarchal leader of his family's criminal enterprise is so perfectly created that it is difficult for me to think of another film that rivals it. The crescendo of this development occurs during the christening of Michael's godson. Coppola brilliantly filmed this as a montage. There's music and the Latin incantations of the priest on the one hand. On the other hand, these images and sounds are spliced together with the images and sounds of Michael's henchmen murdering all of his enemies. This is a profound transformative moment as Michael becomes both a literal godfather to Connie's son and a figurative godfather to his criminal family. Stories about the mafia and organized crime in general are part of our American mythology. Similar in a way to stories about cowboys. Did cowboys exist? Sure. Did they exist as films portray them? Probably not. The same can be said for mobsters. Movies certainly exaggerate their experiences, though anecdotal evidence sometimes suggests that these portrayals are fairly realistic. One thing is for certain, the mafia does exist. It began in Sicily, where it was known as La Cosa Nostra, Italian for our thing. Essentially, it began as an empowerment movement for the citizens of that island as they attempted to battle a corrupt Italian government that overtaxed them and generally diminished the standard of living. So it's not unreasonable to suggest that the mafia began as a Robin Hood-esque venture, a way to provide for the people when formal channels of civic engagement failed. In that sense, we can identify with The Godfather, since we tend to sympathize with people who stand up to the government and the status quo in order to gain their portion of the American dream. Finally, some of your posts mention the other films in this trilogy. I tend to agree with the general consensus. The Godfather 2 is amazing, just as good as the first, maybe even better because of Robert De Niro's portrayal of a young Don Vito Corleone in one of cinema's all-time best flashbacks. The Godfather 3, on the other hand, is less impressive. It's worth seeing for the closure it provides, but it just doesn't have the quality of writing or acting of the other two. Its most notable performance comes from Coppola's daughter, Sophia, whom he cast as Michael's post-adolescent daughter. She's absolutely awful, though she has tended to shine behind the camera. Alright, that's it. Congrats if you made it all the way through. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any questions.